What if I told you that the difference between success and failure isn't effort, luck, or intelligence, but strategy? That most people fight battles blindly, while the true winners never even enter the fight until they've already won it in their minds? Strategic thinking isn't about doing more. It's about thinking better. From ancient battlefields to modern boardrooms, the greatest victors weren't always the strongest. They were the smartest. They planned 5 moves ahead, while the rest only reacted to what was in front of them. This is the art of strategic thinking, your ultimate weapon to outsmart any challenge life throws at you. Chapter 1. The Power of Strategic Thinking. Why tactics fail without strategy. Imagine 2 armies on a battlefield. One charges forward with force, energy, and courage. The other waits, watches, and then moves with calculated precision, striking where it hurts the most and retreating when it must. Who wins? More often than not, it's the one with a strategy. Strategic thinking is not about constant action. It's about planned action. It's the ability to look beyond the present moment and ask, what's the long-term outcome? What are the second and third order effects of this move? What's the smartest, not just fastest, path to victory? Tactics are the tools, the moves, the responses. Strategy is the blueprint. Tactics win battles. Strategy wins wars. Sun Tzu, the legendary Chinese general, wrote, "Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat." This quote alone holds the key to why many talented, hardworking people never win. They're too busy doing instead of thinking. Acting without foresight is like sprinting into a fog without knowing where the cliff ends. Think about your own life. You've probably had moments where you worked hard but got nowhere. Maybe you gave your energy to the wrong person, chased the wrong opportunity, or reacted emotionally to a situation that needed calm calculation. That's not a failure of effort. It's a failure of strategic thinking. Strategic thinking begins with clarity of objective. You can't aim if you don't know what you're aiming for. Before every action, strategic thinkers ask, what do I ultimately want? This may sound simple, but most people don't do it. They react, they copy others, they follow trends. But a strategist zooms out. Let's look at a modern example. Elon Musk doesn't just build electric cars or launch rockets for fun. Every move is part of a larger vision: interplanetary civilization, sustainable energy, disruption of stagnant industries. His strategy is what sets him apart from just being another engineer or innovator. He thinks in decades, not days. In your daily life, strategic thinking shows up in many ways. Choosing where to invest your time, energy, and relationships. Knowing when to act and when to hold back. Understanding who benefits and why from every situation. Preparing for multiple outcomes instead of relying on just one. Strategic thinkers also embrace the power of delayed gratification. While others chase short-term wins, they're building for long-term dominance. In relationships, this means pausing before speaking to assess the emotional landscape. In business, this means holding back a product launch until the market is truly ready. In personal growth, it means saying no to distractions so you can build mastery. Another hallmark of strategic thinking is contingency planning. Think of it like playing chess. You're not just thinking about your next move, you're predicting your opponent's next 5. You ask, if I do this, what will they do next? What's their likely reaction? And if they don't react that way, what's plan B? This doesn't mean living in fear. It means living in awareness. Now here's the truth that will change your life. Every challenge you face, no matter how big, is solvable if you pause long enough to think strategically about it. Life is a game of leverage. The right thought at the right moment is more powerful than 1,000 actions in the wrong direction. Take Steve Jobs. When Apple was on the brink of collapse, He didn't fight to save every product line. He simplified. He focused. He made one bold move at a time. That's strategy. Strategic thinking is not exclusive to billionaires, generals, or philosophers. It's a skill anyone can learn, and this audiobook is your training ground. So starting today, I challenge you to stop reacting and start designing. Life is not just something that happens to you. It's something you can outthink, outplan, and outmaneuver. Because here's the secret. Every problem has a pattern. Every obstacle has a weak spot. And every challenge, no matter how intimidating, has a solution waiting for a strategic mind to discover it. In the next chapter, we'll dive deep into how to think 5 moves ahead, just like a grandmaster in chess. You'll learn how to anticipate outcomes, influence people without pressure, and shape your environment before it shapes you. But for now, ask yourself, am I reacting to life, or am I planning it? Am I thinking ahead, or just running in place? Am I building tactics, or building a strategy? Because the moment you start thinking strategically, you stop playing the game and start controlling it. Chapter 2. Thinking 5 Moves Ahead. The Chess Master's Mindset. Imagine sitting across a chessboard from a grandmaster. You make a move, and they instantly respond. Not because they're rushing, but because they've already thought through every possible scenario. They aren't reacting to your move. They anticipated it 5 steps ago. This isn't talent. It's deep, strategic thinking. It's the art of seeing not just what is, but what will be. This is the secret of the world's best strategists. They think in layers, like chess players planning 5 moves ahead. Now apply this to life. Most people live move to move, reacting to daily situations, emails, arguments, and surprises. But strategic thinkers live 5 moves ahead. They plan their responses, their pivots, their counterattacks, long before the situation arises. They don't get surprised. They expect surprises and have already considered how to respond. In chess, every piece has value but also vulnerability. A smart player understands both. The same applies to life. Your decisions have value and vulnerability. For example, accepting a new job offer might offer more money, but does it limit your time, your freedom, your long-term growth? A short-term win can become a long-term trap if you don't think ahead. Let's take an example from real life. Amazon. When Jeff Bezos launched the company, he wasn't thinking about selling books. He was thinking about dominating the infrastructure of digital commerce. While other companies chased short-term profits, Bezos played the long game. He reinvested, built systems, lost money in the short term to build unshakable dominance later. That's 5-move thinking. To think 5 moves ahead, you must adopt a new mental operating system. First, you must slow down. Strategic thinkers don't rush into decisions. They pause, they examine the board, they ask questions like, what happens next if I do this? What are the ripple effects of this choice? Who benefits from my move, and who might push back? What resources will I gain or lose? What are the threats I'm not seeing? The second rule is detachment. Emotion clouds foresight. The best chess players don't get emotional about losing a piece. They sacrifice it if it helps them win the war. In life, this means letting go of temporary satisfaction to gain long-term power. Detachment doesn't mean coldness. It means discipline. Discipline to hold your tongue when you're provoked. Discipline to walk away from a fight that doesn't serve your endgame. Discipline to wait when others rush. The third principle is scenario planning. Think of every situation as a tree with branches. Each move you make leads to a new branch. Strategic thinkers visualize multiple branches at once. Before confronting someone, they imagine, what if they agree? What if they resist? What if they get defensive? What if they retaliate? Then they prepare for each path. That's not overthinking. That's high-level strategy. Even Julius Caesar, before crossing the Rubicon and starting a civil war, thought deeply about the consequences. His famous words, "The die is cast," reflected the fact that he had considered every possible outcome and still made the bold move. Strategic thinking gives you that confidence. It turns uncertainty into calculated risk. To think 5 moves ahead, you must also study your opponents, not just their words, but their patterns. Strategic people don't just listen. They observe. They watch how others react under pressure, what triggers their emotions, what their default responses are. The goal isn't manipulation, it's preparation. Ask yourself, who are you dealing with in your life right now? A boss? A business competitor? A difficult family member? What are their priorities, their fears, their habits? The more you understand them, the easier it becomes to predict their next move and position yourself accordingly. Another secret of grandmasters is positioning. They don't just go for flashy moves. They quietly place their pieces where they can dominate later. This is the art of silent power. In real life, it means building relationships before you need them, investing in skills before they're demanded, developing mental toughness before crisis hits. It's about quiet preparation that creates explosive results later. Let's make this real. Suppose you're in a job you dislike, but you can't quit yet. Instead of reacting emotionally or complaining, a strategic mind builds. You start learning a new skill during evenings. You network with people in your desired industry. You save money. You gain clarity. So when the right opportunity arrives, you don't hesitate. You strike. That's how you play 5 moves ahead. One of the best ways to train this mindset is by asking strategic questions daily. What's the long-term cost of this decision? If this fails, what's my next move? How does this decision affect my reputation, influence, or leverage? What am I missing? Who else is playing this game? And what are their objectives? Remember, the purpose of 5-move thinking is not to avoid all problems. It's to enter them prepared. Life will always throw uncertainty at you. Strategic thinking doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It makes you resilient in the face of it. Now here's a truth few accept. Most people lose not because they're unskilled, but because they're unprepared. A chess master doesn't control the opponent, but he controls his own position so well that he can't be cornered. That's the mindset you need in every area: career, business, relationships, health. So ask yourself, are you living move to move, or are you playing the long game? Every day you train yourself to see further than others, you gain power. The further ahead you think, the less you fear. The less you fear, the more precise your moves become. That's the essence of true strategy. Quiet, clear, unstoppable. In the next chapter, we'll unlock one of the most critical elements of strategic dominance: knowing yourself and knowing your opponent. Because if you don't understand what drives you and what drives those around you, your moves, no matter how clever, will fall flat. But until then, remember, life is a game board. Every day is a move. Are you just playing the next piece, or are you setting up the win 5 steps from now? Chapter 3. Know yourself. Know your enemy. Strategic self-awareness. In the timeless book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu wrote, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." This quote isn't just a poetic piece of military wisdom. It's the foundation of all great strategic thinking. Most people lose not because they're outmatched, but because they are out of touch. They don't understand their own patterns, desires, or blind spots, and even worse, they underestimate or misread the people they're up against. Strategic thinking begins with awareness, and awareness begins within. To know yourself is to study the battlefield of your own mind. What are your emotional triggers? What distracts you? What motivates you more? reward or fear? When do you make your best decisions? When do you sabotage yourself? Self-awareness turns the fog of life into a map. Without it, every step is guesswork. Let's break this down into 3 parts: self, others, and the hidden dynamic. Step 1. Know yourself. Strategic people are brutally honest with themselves. They don't lie to protect their ego. They look in the mirror and ask hard questions. What am I truly good at? And where am I just average? Do I overreact emotionally when I feel threatened? What patterns do I keep repeating that cost me opportunities? Am I moving from purpose or from pressure? This kind of inner clarity is rare. Most people avoid it because it's uncomfortable. But clarity is power. If you don't understand how you operate under stress, you'll be manipulated by your emotions during critical decisions. If you don't know what truly matters to you, you'll chase goals that don't fulfill you and wonder why you still feel empty. A strategic mind studies itself like a scientist. Keep a journal. Track your wins and losses. Look for recurring behaviors. Ask for feedback, not flattery. The more you understand yourself, the harder it is for the world to shake you. Step 2. Know your enemy. In strategic terms, enemy doesn't always mean a villain. It simply means anyone or anything that opposes your goal. That could be a competitor, a rival, a critic, or even a habit. To win, you must study the opposition. Not hate them, not fear them, but understand them. What motivates them? What do they fear losing? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Are they impulsive or calculating? Do they seek dominance, recognition, security, or control? The better you understand their psychology, the easier it is to predict their moves and use their patterns against them. Take political strategist Karl Rove. He was known for studying his opponents so well that he could dismantle their image with a single sentence. Or consider military leaders like Napoleon, who read the personalities of his enemies, knowing when to provoke and when to avoid. Strategic thinkers don't just outmuscle, they out-understand. This applies to business, negotiations, relationships, and conflict. You must know who you're dealing with. If you're launching a product, understand the market's pain points and buying behaviors. If you're entering a debate, understand the worldview of your opponent. If you're leading a team, know their ambitions, fears, and communication styles. Observation is your superpower. Pay attention to body language, speech patterns, and decision habits. When someone reacts emotionally, take note. When someone avoids a topic, that's a clue. Strategic people are quiet readers of the room. They listen more than they talk, because every person reveals their playbook if you watch long enough. Step 3. Know the hidden dynamic. This is the battlefield most people never see, the emotional and invisible layer that drives behavior. Power, fear, insecurity, trust, envy, loyalty. These are the real forces moving people, not logic, emotions. Every argument has a hidden fear. Every conflict has a buried need. Every competition has a silent ambition underneath it. Strategic minds tune into these deeper currents. They don't just hear words, they feel energy. They don't just see actions, they sense intention. This kind of perception isn't magic. It's awareness developed through stillness, presence, and pattern recognition. Consider this. If someone constantly interrupts you, they may be battling insecurity or a need for control. If someone avoids confrontation, they might fear rejection. If a rival seems overly aggressive, they might be compensating for hidden weakness. When you see beneath the surface, you stop taking things personally and start playing with clarity. This also works in reverse. You must know what energy you bring into the room. Are you calm or anxious? Are you seen as a threat or as an ally? Do people trust your presence or brace for impact when you speak? Strategic self-awareness means being conscious of how your identity affects outcomes. When you combine all three, knowing yourself, knowing your opponent, and understanding the hidden emotional game, you become almost impossible to defeat, not because you overpower others, but because you see 10 layers deeper than they do. Let's bring this to a real-world scenario. Suppose you're negotiating a business deal. If you know your own goals clearly, you won't get distracted by flashy offers. If you know the other side's needs and fears, you can frame your offer in a way that feels like a win to them. And if you sense their hidden motives, you can avoid traps before they're even set. This level of thinking applies to family dynamics, romantic relationships, public speaking, job interviews, and crisis management. Because at every level of life, humans are driven by emotion, ego, perception, and unseen needs. Strategy begins where awareness begins. Before we end this chapter, here's a tool: the strategic awareness triangle. Every time you face a challenge, ask, what's true about me in this situation? What's true about the person or force I'm facing? What's the invisible dynamic shaping this moment? Use these questions like a compass. They'll guide you through complexity with precision. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most underrated weapons of the strategic mind, the art of patience. You'll learn why those who wait wisely often win effortlessly, while others burn out trying to force results. But until then, remember, the battlefield begins within. The more deeply you know yourself and your opponents, the less you'll be fooled by appearances. True power comes not from strength, but from vision. Chapter 4. The Art of Patience. Timing is strategy's best friend. In the fast-paced world we live in, patience seems like a weakness. We glorify speed, hustle, immediate responses. But in the realm of strategic thinking, patience isn't weakness. It's dominance in disguise. Great strategists don't rush to act. They wait, they study, they strike only when the moment is right. Because in strategy, timing isn't just part of the plan. It is the plan. Patience gives you clarity. It gives you the power to observe what others miss. And most importantly, it gives you control, not just over your actions, but over outcomes. Let's travel back to ancient China. One of the most famous military minds in history, Zhuge Liang, was known for winning battles without fighting. His secret weapon? Patience. In one legendary incident, with only a handful of soldiers, he faced a massive invading army. Instead of panicking, he sat calmly atop the city wall, playing a flute. No resistance, no defense. The enemy general suspected a trap and retreated. There was no army hiding behind the gates, just confidence, rooted in strategic patience. This principle hasn't changed in thousands of years. Today, people react impulsively to threats, criticism, or opportunity. They move too soon, speak too soon, quit too soon. But the patient mind isn't controlled by urgency. It's guided by wisdom. Here's what makes patience so powerful in strategy. It separates action from emotion. You may feel the pressure to respond now, but when you wait, you give yourself time to detach from the heat of the moment. You become an observer, not just a participant. Think of Warren Buffett. His entire investing empire is built on patience. He waits for the right moment to buy. He ignores market noise. He studies, watches, and when the conditions are right, he strikes. Not emotionally, not reactively, strategically. Now, let's apply this to everyday life. Imagine someone insults you publicly. The reactive person snaps back. The passive person stays silent. But the strategic thinker pauses. They assess. What does this person want? Attention? Power? What outcome serves me best? Silence, humor, or calculated confrontation? Patience creates space for better options. Patience isn't passive. It's proactive stillness. It's choosing to wait because you're preparing a better move. It's not doing nothing. It's doing the most powerful thing at the right time. Think of martial artists. They don't always strike first. They wait for the opponent to reveal their weakness. They watch, breathe, remain centered. And then they move. One strike, precision, victory. Strategic thinkers understand that every moment of waiting isn't wasted. It's gathering. You're collecting information, observing weaknesses, strengthening your position, sharpening your tools. While others burn out trying to force success, you're quietly building the advantage. But let's be honest, patience is hard, especially in a world of dopamine-driven distractions. Everyone wants instant answers, instant love, instant success, but the rewards of patience are exponential. Every extra minute you wait to make a move gives you insight someone else doesn't have. In business, this might look like holding off on launching a product until you've tested the market deeply. In relationships, it could mean waiting to respond to a conflict until emotions cool. In negotiations, it's the power of silence, letting the other person reveal their hand before you speak. In health, it's the discipline to follow a long-term routine instead of chasing shortcuts. Here's the truth. Impatience is expensive. It costs energy, time, reputation, and sometimes everything. Strategic people play the long game because they understand one key truth. Outcomes are won by those who control the pace. Let's look at nature. A lion doesn't chase every animal it sees. It crouches. It watches. It waits until the prey is tired, distracted, or vulnerable. Then it explodes into action. It doesn't waste energy on low-probability targets. It moves only when success is likely. That's how patience protects power. To train your patience as a strategist, try this. Delay your response. When confronted with a problem, delay your reaction by even a few minutes or hours. Use the pause to think, assess, and choose the right tone and direction. Expand your time horizon. Ask yourself, will this matter in a month, a year, 5 years? This shifts your mindset from emotional reaction to strategic judgment. Detach from urgency. Not every urgent situation is important. Learn to distinguish between manufactured urgency and true priority. Watch patterns. Often, if you wait, people reveal their real motives. The more you observe, the more you can predict. The more you predict, the easier it is to win. Here's a real-world example. Oprah Winfrey. She turned down many opportunities early in her career that seemed promising on the surface, but she had a vision and waited for the right platform, the right brand, the right values. When the moment came, she moved decisively. That's not luck, it's patient positioning. To the untrained eye, patience looks like inactivity. But in strategy, it's preparation at the highest level. Patience turns desperation into control. It converts reaction into mastery. And it gives you the rare power of surprise. Because when you wait and then move with precision, nobody sees it coming. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most subtle yet powerful strategic tools, leverage and influence. You'll learn how to win without fighting, how to position yourself so others move for you, and how to multiply your impact without multiplying your effort. But for now, ask yourself, where am I rushing? What might happen if I waited, watched, and moved only when I saw the perfect opening? Because remember, power doesn't always show itself in motion. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all, until the time is right. Chapter 5. Leverage and Influence. Winning without direct confrontation. The greatest victories often come without a fight. The most influential people rarely shout. The most powerful minds don't need to dominate. They know how to influence. In the world of strategic thinking, brute force is a last resort. Influence and leverage are the quiet tools of those who win with elegance, precision, and control. Let's begin with a truth that changes the game. Influence is invisible power. It's the ability to move people, decisions, and outcomes without direct confrontation. It's persuasion without pressure, control without conflict. In chess, not every piece must attack to dominate. A single knight or bishop, when positioned correctly, can control multiple squares. In life, influence works the same way. One small, well-placed idea, action, or alliance can shift entire systems. Strategic thinkers look for leverage points, those places where a small move creates massive change. Let's go back in history to understand this principle. During the American Revolution, George Washington didn't defeat the British through strength alone. He used leverage. He turned the war into a game of alliances, politics, and perception. He understood the importance of morale, of symbols, of foreign support. He didn't just fight battles. He shaped narratives. That's the difference between tactical fighters and strategic influencers. Leverage begins with understanding value. Ask, what do I have that others need? Is it knowledge, access, time, trust, authority, creativity, or positioning? Leverage is created when you exchange something others desire, strategically. Let's break down the different forms of strategic leverage. 1. Information leverage. Knowledge is one of the purest forms of power. The more you know about people, trends, systems, timing, the more options you have. Strategic thinkers collect information before making any move. They read people, study patterns, research environments, and ask smart questions. But here's the key. They don't just gather information, they use it. They understand what others don't know and position themselves accordingly. In negotiations, for example, knowing what the other side values most, often unspoken, can help you craft an irresistible offer. 2. Relationship leverage. Sometimes, the door you want to open can't be kicked down, but it can be unlocked by someone else. That's the power of relationships. Strategic thinkers build bridges before they need to cross them. They understand that one conversation with the right person is worth more than years of effort in the wrong direction. But relationships are not transactional. Influence doesn't grow by using people. It grows by investing in people. Give value. Listen deeply. Be reliable. When trust is earned, influence becomes effortless. People will move for you, not because you force them, but because they want to. 3. Position leverage. Your positioning often determines your power. Are you seen as the one who reacts or the one who decides? The one who chases or the one who's sought after? Strategic minds don't just focus on action, they craft perception. Think of Apple. They don't compete on price. They compete on identity. They've positioned themselves so well that people line up to pay more because they've attached value to the brand beyond features. That's not marketing. It's strategic leverage. In your own life, how are you positioned? Are you the problem solver, the visionary, the peacemaker, the expert, the risk taker? How others perceive your value will shape how they respond to your presence. 4. Emotional leverage. This is subtle, but potent. When you understand someone's emotional landscape, you can guide outcomes without resistance. What do they fear? What do they crave? What do they need validation for? Influence is created not by controlling people, but by aligning your ask with their emotional needs. This is what great leaders, therapists, negotiators, and even parents do. They don't argue, they align. They create win-win frames where others feel empowered, respected, understood. That's how you move hearts, not just minds. Now here's the secret to all forms of influence: subtlety. The more obvious you are in trying to influence, the less power you have. Strategic minds influence without being detected. Their presence changes the room. Their ideas shift direction, but they do it without force. Their words stick without needing to be repeated. And most importantly, strategic influence is sustainable. It doesn't burn bridges. It builds networks. It creates loyalty, not fear. Let's talk about confrontation. There will be times when conflict seems unavoidable, but the strategist always asks, is there a way to win without battle? If you can influence an outcome before the fight starts, you've already won. If you can shift the energy of the room before raising your voice, you're in control. If your silence makes more impact than someone else's shouting, you've mastered the art. Now let's bring this down to earth. You're in a workplace where someone constantly challenges your ideas. The reactive person argues back. The passive person avoids. But the strategic influencer listens, understands what that person is trying to prove, and then frames their next idea in a way that supports both egos. Suddenly, resistance drops. The challenger now supports you. You didn't overpower them. You influenced them. This works in every domain: sales, parenting, friendships, leadership. Influence is not about getting your way. It's about creating a path where others walk with you voluntarily. To sharpen your influence, practice this. Listen more than you speak. People reveal their needs when they feel safe. Anticipate emotional responses. Speak to those, not just the facts. Build small wins. Influence grows through consistency, not explosions. Ask, what's the invisible currency here? Status, respect, safety, identity? Then pay in that currency. In the next chapter, we'll flip the script completely. You'll learn how to turn your weaknesses into weapons, how to use your disadvantages to create unpredictable strength. Because in strategy, your limitations are not obstacles. They are opportunities waiting for a shift in perspective. But until then, remember, the most powerful people don't shout. They don't force. They move others through quiet influence and calculated leverage. True power never needs to announce itself. It simply moves the world, one strategic ripple at a time. Chapter 6. Turning weakness into power: strategic use of limitations. What if your biggest weakness was actually your greatest weapon? What if the thing you've been trying to hide, avoid, or fix is the exact thing that could set you apart, protect you, or even help you win? In the hands of a strategic thinker, every limitation becomes leverage. This is not optimism. It's calculated advantage, because when you can't overpower the world, you learn how to outmaneuver it. The world is full of stories where underdogs didn't win in spite of their weaknesses. They won because of them. Think of David versus Goliath, a small boy with a slingshot against a giant. He couldn't match Goliath's strength, but he didn't try to. He used speed, distance, and precision. He used a weakness as camouflage for an unexpected strike. This is one of the most important truths in strategy. Obvious strength is easy to defend against. Unexpected strength is almost impossible to block. And the most unexpected strengths often emerge from our perceived disadvantages. Let's break this into 3 strategic mindsets. 1. Reframing the limitation. The first step is to stop seeing your limitation as a dead end and start seeing it as an opening. Most people look at their weaknesses with shame, frustration, or defeat, but the strategic mind sees it like a cracked wall, an opportunity for light to enter. Let's say you're not naturally charismatic. In a world of loud voices, that might feel like a weakness. But strategic silence, sharp listening, and precise words often leave a greater impact than constant noise. People might overlook you at first, but that only makes your presence more powerful when it finally lands. Or maybe you lack resources. You can't outspend competitors. That forces you to become more creative, more frugal, more efficient. This is how many startups outsmart corporate giants. Necessity breeds innovation. Constraint breeds genius. Don't curse your limits. Use them as the exact pressure that sharpens your edge. 2. Weaponizing perception. One of the oldest tricks in the strategist's playbook is to allow others to underestimate you. Appear weaker, appear slower, appear harmless, and then, when they relax, you strike. It's not about deception. It's about understanding how others perceive weakness and using that expectation against them. Muhammad Ali mastered this art. In his famous rope-a-dope strategy, he leaned against the ropes, absorbed punches, and appeared tired. His opponent burned out. Then, Ali exploded with power when it mattered. He weaponized the illusion of weakness to set up the perfect moment for dominance. When you're underestimated, you're given space. You're not seen as a threat, which means you can prepare, observe, and surprise. This is your stealth advantage. Sometimes your best move is to not appear strong until the moment arrives. 3. Transforming weakness into strategic differentiation. In a world of sameness, your limitations can make you stand out. People admire those who win despite challenges. But even more, they trust those who are real. Vulnerability, when owned, becomes strength. Take J.K. Rowling. Rejected by publishers, broke, a single mother. That backstory didn't make her weaker. It gave her work depth, resilience, and relatability. Her so-called disadvantage became her brand's soul. In the business world, companies often market what used to be considered weaknesses. We're small, so we treat every client like family. Or, we're new, so we're obsessed with innovation. The trick isn't to hide the flaw, it's to flip the frame. In relationships, if you're overly empathetic, some might see it as softness. But strategic empathy builds trust, loyalty, and insight. You hear what others miss. That's not a weakness. It's a superpower in disguise. The question isn't, do I have weaknesses? Everyone does. The question is, how will I frame and use mine? Because here's a harsh truth. If you don't own your weakness, someone else will use it against you. But if you bring it into the light, you rob others of that power. What you expose, you control. What you hide controls you. So how do you turn your limitations into leverage practically? Step 1. Name the limitation clearly. No exaggeration, no self-pity, just clarity. Step 2. Ask, what strength might this be hiding? For example, a lack of experience may mean a fresh perspective. A lack of connections might mean no bias or baggage. Step 3. Position it strategically. Create a story around it. Show how it makes you better, not worse. Step 4. Use it as a filter. Your limitations often attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. That's not a flaw. It's efficiency. And finally, remember this. In a world obsessed with perfection, the most strategic thing you can do is be authentically imperfect, because people connect with real. They follow those who turn scars into symbols. They respect those who take broken pieces and build something strong anyway. There is no such thing as a pure weakness. Every flaw is raw material. Every setback is a setup. Every limitation is a lesson waiting to be weaponized. In the next chapter, we'll unlock the secret to strategic foresight, decoding your competition and mastering the art of observation. Because once you've turned your own weaknesses into weapons, the next step is learning how to read the battlefield around you with piercing clarity. But for now, ask yourself, what have I been hiding, avoiding, or apologizing for? And what would happen if I turned that into the very reason I win? Because in the hands of a strategic mind, nothing is wasted, not even your flaws. Chapter 7. Decoding the competition. Strategic observation and intelligence. In every game, every industry, Every social circle, there are players and observers. The players move. The observers watch. But the most powerful strategist is both. They move after they've watched long enough to know exactly how to move. This is the essence of strategic observation. The ability to gather intelligence, decode intentions, and see what others miss. Observation is the foundation of dominance. And yet, most people are too busy talking, reacting, or rushing to ever stop and truly observe. But strategy begins in silence. Power begins with watching. Influence begins with understanding. Let's imagine a battlefield. The reckless commander charges forward with bold tactics. The strategic commander climbs the highest hill, studies the terrain, watches how the enemy reacts under pressure, identifies supply lines, weak spots, and overextensions. Only then does he strike, with precision, with purpose, and with the full force of knowledge on his side. That hill is observation. The view from above changes the game below. Let's bring this into real life. You're in a business. You want to win market share. Most competitors are just copying what others are doing. Same ads, same language, same strategies. But you, the observer, study the entire landscape. You see the gap nobody is filling. You identify what customers truly crave, not just what they say they want. You find the blind spot. And then, you enter with a move nobody expected and dominate. This is not magic. It's intelligence. Strategic observation begins with 3 core skills. 1. Pattern recognition. Everything and everyone has patterns. The way people talk, react, lead, hide, or expose themselves, it's all data. Strategic thinkers are like detectives. They watch quietly, take mental notes, connect dots. 1 outburst might be random. 2 reveals emotion. 3 becomes a pattern, and patterns are predictable. Once you spot someone's pattern, you no longer fear their unpredictability. You understand their rhythm. You can time your moves perfectly, predict their reactions, outsmart their assumptions. Think of poker. The best players don't rely only on cards. They read tells, small signs, ticks, breathing changes, eye movements. They win not because they gamble better, but because they observe better. 2. Listening beyond words. Most people only hear what's being said. Strategists hear what's not being said. The hesitation before a response, the contradiction between words and tone, the things someone avoids mentioning. These are clues. In meetings, listen for status battles. Who speaks over whom? Who defers to whom? Who remains silent but tense? These silent dynamics reveal where power actually lives. In personal relationships, notice when someone's words say, "I'm fine," but their energy screams, "I'm furious." Listening is about reading energy, body language, timing, tone, and subtle shifts in behavior. The better you're listening, the better your positioning. 3. Studying the environment. Strategic observation isn't limited to people. It's also about systems. Study the structure you're operating in. Who makes the real decisions? What are the unspoken rules? Where does influence flow from? What creates status here? Money, intelligence, loyalty, charisma. Observe before you enter. If you're joining a new workplace, study the company culture for a week before offering solutions. If you're entering a new social circle, read the group dynamic before sharing strong opinions. The less you speak early, the more you learn. And once you've observed enough, your first move will carry 10 times the impact. Tools of the strategic observer. Journaling. Take notes on people, meetings, conflicts, outcomes. Patterns emerge faster when written down. Silence. Use silence as a weapon. The quieter you are, the more others reveal themselves. Ask layered questions. What do you think about? Followed by, why do you think that is? The first answer is usually safe. The second reveals truth. Time-based watching. Study how someone behaves under pressure, in victory, in defeat, and when no one is watching. That's the full picture. Reverse engineer success. When someone wins big, don't envy, analyze. How did they set it up? What moves led there? What leverage did they use? Let's take a real-world example, Netflix. When the company moved from DVD rentals to streaming, it wasn't a random leap. They observed the market, studied shifting behaviors, predicted where the industry would be in 10 years, and moved before the others even noticed. By the time competitors reacted, Netflix had already established dominance. Strategic thinkers don't just react to the present. They decode the future by observing the present deeply enough. They look beneath trends. They ask, where is this going? Then they prepare for that destination before the crowd gets there. But observation isn't just for offense. It also protects you from traps. The better you observe, the easier it is to spot manipulation, emotional bait, political moves, or hidden agendas. You become hard to fool, hard to provoke, hard to trick, because you've already seen the playbook. Ask yourself, who around me has predictable patterns? What have I missed by talking too much? Where am I assuming instead of observing? The answer might reveal a move you never saw before. In the next chapter, we'll sharpen the most advanced skill of all, anticipation and adaptability. You'll learn how to thrive in chaos, how to bend without breaking, and how to predict outcomes before they unfold. But for now, remember, the battlefield doesn't begin with movement. It begins with observation. If you want to win, see deeper. If you want to stay ahead, listen sharper. If you want to dominate, observe longer than anyone else is willing to wait. Because the best players don't just move pieces on the board. They read the board better than anyone else alive. Chapter 8. Anticipation and Adaptability. Outsmarting Chaos and Change. Every strategy looks brilliant until the environment changes. Every plan feels powerful until uncertainty arrives. But the most dangerous players in any arena aren't just the smartest. They're the ones who adapt the fastest. Because in a world that changes daily, the power to anticipate and adjust is what separates the elite from the obsolete. Anticipation is foresight. It's the ability to read the wind before the storm arrives. Adaptability is flexibility under pressure. It's how you bend without breaking, pivot without panic, move forward when everyone else is frozen. Together, anticipation and adaptability create resilience-based dominance, a kind of strength that doesn't just survive change, but uses it as fuel. Let's begin with anticipation. Part 1. The power of anticipation. Strategic minds don't just live in the now, they peek into the future. They ask questions most ignore. Where is this trend going? What are the hidden consequences of this decision? If this system breaks, what happens next? They look for early signals, shifts in energy, cracks in systems, subtle changes in behavior. When others are focused on the surface, they are scanning the horizon. Think of Wayne Gretzky, the hockey legend. When asked why he was so effective, he replied, "I skate to where the puck is going, not where it's been." That's anticipation in a sentence. Strategic thinkers aren't obsessed with the current move. They're preparing for the next 3 moves no one else sees coming. In your own life, anticipate the shifts before they hit. If your industry is changing, what skills will matter tomorrow, not just today? If your relationship is declining, what conversation needs to happen now to prevent collapse later? If the economy tightens, where can you create new value, security, or leverage? Anticipation gives you control in a world built on uncertainty. It doesn't mean predicting the future perfectly. It means building the capacity to respond powerfully when the moment comes. But anticipation is nothing without adaptability. Part 2. The art of adaptability. Adaptability is not about weakness. It's not about giving up your values. It's about changing your strategy without losing your goal. It's about remaining fluid, flexible, and effective, even when the terrain completely shifts. Picture a river. It doesn't resist rocks. It flows around them. Over time, it carves through mountains. Strategic adaptability is like that. It's not reactive chaos. It's calculated responsiveness. Here's a truth most people avoid. Rigidity is the enemy of growth. The harder you cling to how things were, the more painful change becomes. But if you treat change as an opportunity to reinvent, reposition, and re-enter stronger, you turn uncertainty into momentum. Let's bring this into battle terms. During World War II, General Eisenhower had an invasion plan for D-Day, but he once said, "Plans are useless, but planning is everything." What did he mean? He meant that no matter how detailed your blueprint is, reality will shift. The true strength is not the plan itself, but your ability to pivot without losing your aim. In today's world, entire industries are wiped out by innovation. Blockbuster fell because it didn't adapt to digital. Kodak collapsed because it clung to film. But Netflix thrived because it anticipated streaming and adapted early. Amazon shifted from books to becoming the backbone of global e-commerce. Tesla adapted from auto company to tech company. Adaptability isn't survival. It's strategic evolution. In personal life, adaptability means learning new communication styles in a changing relationship, shifting routines when energy or health demands it, changing tactics when your goals are blocked, not abandoning the goal, but finding another road. Part 3. Training the strategic mind for chaos. How do you build this ability to anticipate and adapt? Scenario thinking. Always ask, what if? What if the plan fails? What if conditions change? What if I lose this option? Thinking through possible outcomes isn't paranoia. It's preparation. Mental flexibility. Hold your opinions loosely. Be willing to be wrong. Be open to being surprised. Stubbornness kills strategy. Flexibility keeps you sharp. Feedback obsession. Learn from every move. What worked? What didn't? Why? Strategic thinkers treat every situation as data, not ego. Upgrade constantly. Your skills, tools, and mindset must evolve. Read widely. Stay curious. Invest in growth before it's required. Focus on principles, not just tactics. Tactics may change. Environments will change. But timeless principles like clarity, leverage, patience, and awareness don't. Build on those. Adaptability also means emotional flexibility. The ability to stay calm in chaos, to regulate yourself when pressure spikes, to detach from ego when change threatens identity. If you can remain emotionally grounded while adjusting intellectually, you become a force of nature. Anticipation gives you vision. Adaptability gives you movement. Together, they make you unstoppable. Let's look at one final image. Imagine you're in a storm at sea. Everyone else is panicking, holding on to broken maps. But you anticipated the storm. You reinforced the ship. You studied the winds. And now, while others are spinning in circles, you've adjusted your sails, and you're using the storm to move faster. That's the strategic mindset. You don't resist change. You ride it. In the next chapter, we'll explore the quiet power behind every successful strategy, emotional control and self-mastery. Because you can't win the outer game if you keep losing the inner one. But for now, remember this. The future doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the most adaptable. The sharpest minds don't just survive chaos, they own it. Chapter 9. Mastering Your Emotions. The inner battlefield of strategic thinkers. The most dangerous battlefield isn't outside, it's inside. It's not the competition, the crisis, or the challenge that defeats most people. It's the storm within: panic, pride, doubt, anger, fear, and ego. And that's why emotional control isn't just personal development. It's a strategic weapon. If you can stay calm while others crumble, clear while others confuse, composed while others clash, you win without lifting a finger. Because here's the truth: you cannot control the battlefield if you cannot control yourself. Most people don't lose because they lack talent or opportunity. They lose because they can't stay calm under pressure. They get emotional at the wrong time. They overreact, underthink, lash out, shut down, or make impulsive moves that destroy their advantage. But the strategist sees emotion not as weakness, but as fuel to be mastered. Let's explore how. Part 1. The emotions that sabotage strategy. Let's name the 4 most common emotional traps that sabotage strategic minds. 1. Ego. Ego makes you defend your position instead of evolving it. It makes you prove you're right instead of finding what's useful. It blinds you to feedback, overestimates your importance, and turns every challenge into a personal threat. The strategist doesn't serve ego. They serve the mission. 2. Fear. Fear stops you from acting when action is needed. It freezes your vision. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of losing control. Strategic thinkers feel fear, but they act through it, not from it. They don't seek safety, they seek alignment. 3. Anger. Anger narrows focus. It feels powerful in the moment, but blinds you to long-term consequences. The strategist uses anger as data, not as a driver. If anger rises, they ask, "What is this revealing about the situation?" Or about me. Then they move from clarity, not combustion. 4. Impatience. Impatience forces bad timing. It rushes decisions. It kills momentum by chasing fast results. Strategic thinkers know that urgency is not strategy. They wait when it's time to watch. They strike when the timing is right, not when their emotions are loud. Part 2. Emotional mastery is self-command. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means becoming intentional. Emotions are powerful signals, but they should never be the steering wheel. Strategic people feel deeply, but act deliberately. How do you develop that kind of control? 1. Name it to tame it. When emotion rises, don't suppress it. Label it. Say to yourself, "I'm feeling threatened. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling disrespected." The brain becomes less reactive when it understands the emotion rather than being hijacked by it. 2. Create space. Pause before reacting. Even 3 seconds of silence can disrupt the emotional loop. Take a breath. Ask, "Is this emotion moving me toward my goal or away from it?" 3. Return to the mission. The strategist is mission-focused, not emotionally driven. When emotions rise, return to the question, "What outcome do I want here?" Anchor yourself in the objective, not the noise. 4. Use rituals. Emotion is biochemical. That means it can be influenced by physical habits. Cold showers, journaling, movement, meditation, deep breathing. These aren't wellness trends. They are tools of mental dominance. Use them to reset your emotional baseline. Part 3. The emotional advantage of strategic thinkers. Here's what happens when you master your inner battlefield. You become harder to manipulate. Emotional control protects you from being baited. You become more persuasive. Calm energy influences more deeply than desperate energy. You gain time. Instead of reacting instantly, you choose your response with power. You radiate confidence. People trust the calmest person in the room because that person feels like a leader. Remember, emotional mastery is predictable power. While others are thrown around by every situation, you remain rooted. You don't need to dominate conversations. You dominate presence. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, but never bitter, never broken. He emerged with grace and composure and helped heal a nation. That's not emotional suppression. That's emotional sovereignty. Or think of top performers in high-stakes games. The best athletes don't just train their bodies, they train their emotions. They practice calm under pressure, not just skill under ideal conditions. Why? Because breakdowns don't come from lack of talent. They come from lack of inner control. So ask yourself now, when I'm stressed, who takes over, my strategy or my emotion? Do I respond to people's words or their energy? What emotional state do I need to practice to become unshakable? Because here's the truth that will change everything. If you can master your emotions, you can master any room, any decision, any battle. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the real-world applications of strategic thinking. You'll discover how to use everything you've learned: observation, anticipation, leverage, patience, emotional control, to dominate challenges in business, relationships, competition, and crisis. But for now, remember, the fiercest warrior is not the loudest, but the calmest. The deepest power doesn't erupt, it emanates. And the sharpest mind isn't always the most knowledgeable, it's the most emotionally disciplined. Chapter 10. Real-World Warfare. Applying strategic thinking to daily life. You've studied the battlefield. You've sharpened your mind. You've mastered emotion, observed patterns, anticipated threats, and embraced adaptability. But strategy means nothing if it stays locked in theory. The real measure of strategic thinking is how you apply it every single day. And here's the secret. You don't need a war or a corporate takeover to be strategic. Every conversation, every decision, every obstacle is a battleground for your strategic mind. Because life doesn't reward the smartest. It rewards those who can think smart in motion. Let's start with where most people live: relationships. Strategic thinking in relationships. Relationships aren't about winning. They're about understanding the deeper layers beneath every interaction. Strategic people don't manipulate others. They guide energy, resolve tension, and build mutual respect by staying clear on their own values and intentions. Let's say there's conflict with a partner, friend, or coworker. A reactive person tries to defend themselves. A passive person shuts down, but a strategic thinker asks, what's really being said here? Is this about the topic or something deeper like fear or insecurity? What emotional outcome do I want? Peace, truth, clarity. Instead of reacting emotionally, they respond purposefully. They know when to speak, when to stay silent, when to ask a question that unlocks vulnerability, and when to exit a toxic cycle altogether. Strategic thinking in relationships means protecting peace without sacrificing self-respect. Strategic thinking in work and business. In business, strategy is not just for CEOs. It's for anyone who wants to rise above chaos and stay 3 moves ahead. You're in a team meeting. Everyone's scrambling for solutions. Instead of jumping in with loud ideas, you observe the dynamics. Who's really in control? What's missing from the conversation? What's the pressure point that nobody is addressing? Then you deliver one insight that reframes the entire room. That's strategy, not quantity, timing, and precision. Want a promotion? Don't just work harder, work smarter. Study what your boss values. Learn the unwritten rules of influence. Position yourself as the person who solves problems others ignore. Got a business idea? Don't just copy trends. Identify emotional gaps in the market. People don't just buy products. They buy relief, power, time, meaning, and confidence. Strategic thinkers go beneath surface features and build solutions people didn't even know they were desperate for. Strategic thinking in conflict and competition. In any competitive environment, sports, politics, negotiation, debate, the most strategic person always wins. Why? Because they understand this principle. You don't beat people by overpowering them. You beat them by outpositioning them. They don't waste energy fighting battles that don't serve the war. They let others wear themselves out while they conserve energy, gather intel, and strike once, cleanly. In arguments, they don't fight to win. They speak to influence. They disarm ego with questions. They listen for what others are trying to prove, then shift the conversation subtly until their opponent agrees without realizing it. They don't need credit, they need the result. Strategic thinking in crisis. When life falls apart, financially, emotionally, physically, the reactive person panics. But the strategic person slows down. They don't fight reality. They ask, what is within my control right now? Where is the leverage point that can shift this whole situation? What mindset do I need to maintain clarity? Even in pain, they're positioning. Even in setbacks, they're gathering strength. They know that every crisis contains hidden intelligence, and that the world often opens doors the moment we stop fighting and start thinking. How to stay strategic daily. Start every day with a power question. What's the most important move I can make today that creates leverage? Zoom out often. Don't just live in the moment. Step back. Ask, how does this fit into my bigger mission? Practice emotional neutrality. In a heated moment, detach. Say to yourself, this is a data gathering opportunity. Turn everything into a pattern recognition game. Notice how people repeat themselves, how problems loop, how energy shifts. These are clues. Treat silence as strength. You don't need to fill space. Silence makes people reveal themselves. Keep studying minds, not just moves. Every interaction is psychology in motion. Watch the motives behind the words. Protect your energy as if it's currency. Don't waste it proving points, chasing chaos, or engaging battles that don't serve your mission. Conclusion. Strategy is a way of life. Strategic thinking isn't something you do once. It's a mindset you live in. It's how you carry yourself in rooms where chaos reigns. It's how you stay composed when pressure spikes. It's how you make your life your chessboard and move with intention while everyone else plays checkers. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. Because every situation, no matter how messy or mundane, contains a move that puts you in a position of power. The art of strategic thinking is not just about winning battles. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to fight as often, because your mind already shaped the outcome before the game began. In the next chapter, we'll bring everything together. You'll get a full strategic blueprint, a condensed, powerful system to sharpen your thinking, act with clarity, and transform every challenge into an opportunity to lead, grow, and win. Because strategy isn't just for the battlefield, it's for your mind, your life, your legacy. Chapter 11, The Strategic Blueprint. Designing a mind that wins everywhere. After everything we've explored, the art of influence, the power of observation, emotional mastery, adaptability, and real-world application, it's time to bring it all together. A true strategist doesn't just think tactically here and there. They build a system, a blueprint, a mental framework they live by. Strategy is not something they do. It's who they are. In this final chapter, you'll learn how to design a mind that doesn't just survive challenges. It turns every challenge into a move that leads to victory. This is the blueprint for becoming unshakable, unpredictable, and undeniably effective in every arena of life. The 6 core pillars of strategic thinking. 1. Clarity of purpose. Everything starts with purpose. Not vague goals, not random desires, but crystal clear direction. Strategic thinkers know why they're doing what they're doing. That clarity gives them the power to say no, to stay focused, and to move deliberately. Without purpose, everything feels urgent. With purpose, everything becomes filtered. Ask yourself, what am I really aiming for? What would success actually look like and feel like for me? What am I willing to walk away from to protect my mission? Your strategy is only as strong as your clarity. 2. Pattern-based perception. Strategists don't look at life in isolated events. They see patterns. Conversations, conflicts, market shifts, personal behavior. It's all part of a larger rhythm. And when you learn to read those rhythms, you become almost prophetic. You stop being surprised by problems. You start expecting opportunities before they appear. This is how you become the calmest person in the room, because you already saw it coming. To train this, ask, where have I seen this before? What does this behavior usually lead to? Is this a one-time event or part of a larger loop? 3. Emotional sovereignty. We've already covered the power of emotional control, but inside the blueprint, it becomes daily practice. Every morning, strategic thinkers check their emotional state like a warrior checks their weapon. They don't let fear, ego, or anger sneak into the driver's seat. Ask, what emotion is guiding my next decision? Is this feeling creating clarity or distortion? Who am I when I'm emotionally neutral? A strategist protects their peace like territory because it's the ground they move from. 4. Relentless adaptability. Plans change. People change. Markets shift. Emotions spike. Life is wild, but your mindset must remain flexible. The blueprint demands that you build systems, not scripts. A script fails when the situation changes. A system flexes and flows. You adapt your behavior, but never abandon your values. To practice this, ask, what's my plan B, C, D? Treat failure not as defeat, but as information. Reward yourself not for always being right, but for always being willing to adjust. 5. Calculated action. Thinking without movement is stagnation, but action without thought is chaos. The strategist acts with precision. They don't move until the move matters, but when it does, they move decisively. Every move should answer these questions. Does this align with my mission? Is this the right time? What's the long-term ripple of this action? You're not here to be busy. You're here to be effective. 6. Legacy-based thinking. The final pillar, the deepest driver. Strategic minds don't play for today. They build for legacy. Their actions echo beyond moments. They create systems, relationships, brands, ideas, movements that outlast them. Legacy-based thinkers ask, will this matter in 10 years? Does this action build something greater than myself? Am I reacting or creating? This isn't about ego. It's about meaning. Strategy becomes soul work when it's tied to something bigger than wins and losses. It becomes a mindset of long-term integrity, impact, and influence. The daily strategic ritual. Here's a practical routine to hardwire this blueprint into your life. Morning. 3 minutes of silence. Observe your emotional state. Ask, what's my mission today? Identify one strategic move that advances your long-term goal. Midday. Pause. Zoom out. Reassess. Are you moving from emotion or purpose? Reconnect with your position. Are you reacting or leading? Evening. Review. What worked? What didn't? What patterns did I notice? One-sentence journaling. Today, I moved strategically when I... Consistency beats intensity. This is how strategic thinking becomes second nature, your final power shift. From this point forward, you are no longer just reacting to life. You are playing chess while others play checkers. You are reading people like maps, turning pressure into leverage, turning silence into power, turning setbacks into setups, turning emotion into clarity, turning ideas into execution, turning every moment into an intentional move. You are no longer waiting for ideal conditions. You are shaping them. You are no longer confused by chaos. You are thriving in it. You are no longer trying to control people. You are influencing the system. You are thinking 10 moves ahead. And when you do this consistently, day after day, you'll notice something powerful. You don't need to force success. You simply position yourself where success becomes inevitable. This is the art of strategic thinking. This is how you outsmart any challenge. This is how you win without war.